Good morning, good evening, and so maybe good afternoon. So it depends where you are. And I'm Jungjing, or Jungjing, and I'm from School of Management. And I'm very happy and to chair this session. And it's about the development of national and the regional innovation system in China. And so today, we have two young scholars to present their research on the regional innovation or the national innovation system. And after their presentation, and the two Professor Chens will give the discussion as well as their opinions on the research opinions on the national innovation system as well as in the regional innovation systems. So today, and we have that Professor Chen Jing and the Professor Chen Xiangdong. They are the discussants, and the Professor Chen Jing, he is from the School of Economics and Management at Tsinghua University, and the Professor Chen Xiangdong is a professor and from School of Economics and Management at Beihang University. All four discussants and the presenters, they are speakers, they are from Beijing, and I'm from Hangzhou. Dr. Yang Boxu is a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Chinese Academy of Science. And Dr. Ximing is assistant professor at the Beijing Institute of Technology. So now I think it will be, so this is the schedule of this, this session. So at first is the presentation from Dr. Yang Boxu and Dr. Ximing, and the later is a discussion and the opinions from two Professor Chens. At the end is the free discussion. So I hope that we have more the time and for the free discussion. And so now, and Dr. Yang, and please share your screen, and then it's a time for you and for your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Professor Jin. And now I will share my screen. And, can you see my screen?
Yes, no any problem.
Oh, okay, now I will begin my presentation. Hello, everyone. I'm Yang Boxu, a postdoc fellow at the University of Chinese Academy of Science. The topic of my presentation is a research on effectiveness of innovation policy for regional innovation and the Chinese MLP. And this research was done in collaboration with my tutor, Liu Xielin. And I will introduce our research from the following 6 parts. First is the background of our research. Since the Chinese economic reform, China has achieved remarkable economic development. By 2010, China became the second economy in the world. Since China joined WTO in 2001, FDI flooded into China. It made China an open economy, but it also made China more reliant on foreign technology. Industrial safety became a serious concern for China. By 2006, it was realized that China's economic growth was heavily dependent on energy and resource consumption, and the national indigenous innovation capability was weak. So in 2006, National Medium and Long-Term Science and Technology Development Program was initiated to reverse and aim to make China an innovation country by 2020. MLP is a kind of Chinese industry policy. By using government power to intervene or correct the S&T development process, MLP also forced regional to transform its development process from investment-driven to innovation-driven. And the existing research saw that the innovation policy has promoted the R&D input and output of enterprises to some extent. There are a series of policies to promote enterprises innovation, which both include direct and indirect incentive. The direct policies such as government R&D subsidies can overcome market failures, but also provide.
Benim ismim Rajesh Kalka diye gözüküyor.
Corporate lines and rate-seeking behaviors. The indirect incentives, such as tax credit, will reduce the government's selection role and avoiding corporate rate-seeking behaviors by opening for all enterprises and input-based subsidies. And another way to promote innovation is IPR protection. And there are also some research gaps and implications. When the innovation system was created and adapted at the national level and the regional level, it became important for both academia and policymakers. However, the issue about how to improve regional innovation efficiency by government policy at different levels is still not clear. So whether China should strengthen the government's role or let the market play a more critical role. Now I will briefly explain the MLP, National Medium and Long-Term Plan for Science and Technology Development. The plan introduced the strategy of indigenous innovation and is regarded as the most important techno-industrial development policy in decades. The MLP includes three main policies for science and technology reform: the government subsidies, tax credit, and IPR protection. The impact of government subsidy, we argue that the government subsidy influence regional innovation efficiency through two mechanisms. First, the R&D subsidy involves a government selection process, which may lead to rate seeking, and second, as fraud behavior exists in enterprises, government R&D subsidy usually could not meet the expectation. Based on the above analysis, we put forward the following hypothesis. Government R&D subsidies have a negative impact on regional innovation efficiency. The impact of tax credit, we think about that the tax credit influence regional innovation efficiency through three mechanisms. First, in the process, only be qualified for tax reduction when they spend a certain amount in R&D. Second, tax credit is an inclusive policy and a market-based and non-competitive policy. Third, the tax credit reduces enterprises' rate-seeking behaviors and optimizing resource allocation. Based on the above analysis, we put forward the following hypotheses. R&D tax credit have a positive impact on regional innovation efficiency. The impact of strengthening IPR. We argue that the IPR influences regional innovation efficiency through two mechanisms. First, the IPR provides enterprises with a technology monopoly for a certain period, which may increase the enterprise's return to innovation. Second, the IPR elevate information products and facilitate technology exchange and training. Based on the above analysis, we put forward the following hypothesis. The IPR protection has a significant positively important impact on regional innovation efficiency. And the heterogeneous effect of development stage is based on the heterogeneous of development stages. We put forward three hypotheses. The first is H4A. Compared with innovation catch-up regions, R&D subsidies in innovation-leading regions have a mild negative impact on regional innovation efficiency. And H4B, compared with the innovation-leading regions, the implementation of tax credit in innovation catch-up regions has a more positive effect on innovation efficiency. And the third hypothesis is H4C. Compared with innovation leading regions, the IPR protection in innovation catch-up regions has a mild positive impact on regional innovation efficiency. And our research framework is so follow. The data in our article mainly include the 5 database. First is China Economic Statistics Database, and the second is the Statistics Yearbook of Scientific and Technological Activities of Industrial Enterprises. The third is China Labor Statistics Yearbook, and the fourth is China Intellectual Property Index Report, and the fifth is WIND database. Finally, we obtain panel data for 13 provinces from 2007 to 2017. And the measure of regional innovation efficiency, considering the complexity of innovation, we calculate the innovation efficiency through multi-input output variable. In view of the following four advantages of DEA, we choose DEA method to measure regional innovation efficiency. And based on the existing literature, the input and output variables of this paper are selected as follows. And there are 3 input variables and 3 output variables. These people saw the variables in our studies, and is the result in our research. In Model 1, R&D subsidies have a significantly negative impact on regional innovation efficiency. Each one is supported. In Model 2, the tax credit has a significant and positive impact on regional innovation efficiency, and H2 is supported. But in Model 3, IPR protection do not have a significant and negative impact on regional innovation efficiency. H3 is not supported. Next, we examine the status. The result shows that H4A is supported, but H4B is not supported. There is no regional heterogeneity in the effect of R&D tax credit policy, and H4C is supported. The effect of IPR is negative in innovation catch-up regions, but it is positive in innovation-leading regions. And we test the endogenous by residual regression and IV Tobit to test the possible measurement errors. We use two-stage error regression to test the endogeneity. First, we defined the subsidy is tax credit and IPR as the independent variable, and save the reciprocal and use the reciprocal to replace original independent variables. For the IV Tobit, we use patent grace as an instrument variable of R&D subsidies, and we select the average value of R&D tax credit and the number of industrial as instrument for R&D tax credit. And we selected the distance between each province's capital city and the provinces with British cousins in Qing dynasty, and the sum of distances within the provinces as the instrument variable. The result of endogenous tests are consistent with the hypothesis test result. And we also do the robust test. We test the robust of our result by using logged variables and alternative variables. The results of robust tests are also consistent with the hypothesis test result. And our main conclusion is as follows. First, the government R&D subsidies have a significant and negative impact on regional innovation efficiency, especially for innovation catch-up regions, which supports the grading out effect of government subsidies. The R&D tax credit has a significant positive impact on regional innovation efficiency. Third, in innovation leading regions, IPR have a significant and positive impact on regional innovation efficiency, while it negatively affects in innovation catch-up regions. We also discussed the unproven hypothesis. There is no regional heterogeneity in the effect of R&D tax credit policy. Enterprises that are less willing to carry out R&D activities will only invest funds into incremental innovation and short-term projects with low risk. For this enterprises, the resource is allocation and innovation efficiency still can't be improved. The IPR have no significant effect on regional innovation efficiency. As an emerging country, China has significant variance in innovation capability and innovation efficiency between regions, similar to provides theoretical analysis of regional innovation. IPR may have different effects, which offset by each other in the whole sample. And the possible margin contribution of our study are as follows. First, this study further explores how innovation policies affect regional innovation efficiency. Second, this study enriches the relevant research on regional innovation systems by distinguishing innovation catch-up regions and innovation leading regions. And third, this study systematically tests the effectiveness of innovation policy in MLP at the regional levels. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And from the presentation from Dr. Yang. And so it's very interesting and have talking about the different effect of the government subsidies and tax credits on the innovation system. So now I think it's we move into the next presentation, and after two presentation is the discussion time and the free discussion. Or is any Bao, do you have any? Okay, so now it's the turn and to Dr. Ying.
Okay. Can you hear me, Professor Jin?
Yes, I can hear you, but I cannot see your screen.
Can you see my slides?
Now it's okay. Yeah.
Okay, let me start.
It's too much.
Yeah.
Too many. 74.
Yeah, I will just skip some details of my slides just for sharing. So, hello everyone, Professor Chen Jin and Professor Chen Xiangdong, and also other professors and scholars from international community. I'm really glad to be here to share our current work on the national innovation system. Actually, we introduced a new national innovation system perspective we call the holistic innovation system, which is originally proposed by Professor Chen Jin, and also provide another perspective from the professor from the Sweden University called the Holistic Innovation Policy. This is to combine both China and international perspective on the national innovation system. So borrowing from this two perspective, we review the China's innovation progress and prospect in comparison with the G7 countries and also the other emerging economies like India, in order to have a very critical and constructive overview on this part. Actually, this is the previous working results also have been just accepted by the Journal of Industrial and Corporate Change. It's just online. If you have any interest, you can just go to the online to read the full paper. Today, I will just go through the key results and key findings from our paper and projects. So I will focus on the four points. First is China's catch up and reshaping global innovation landscape from a global perspective. Second, I will introduce what is holistic innovation, which is a new perspective on national innovation system. Another, we will provide very brief introduction overview of the main drivers for Chinese fast catching up on national innovations in the past 40 years. We also will provide very critical prospects on the major challenge on the way towards the innovation powerhouse of China. In the last part, I will introduce a very brief and our insights on how China can continue its fast growing and go beyond the catch up from the holistic innovation perspective. First, we can see that this Global Innovation Index report just released last month by the World Intellectual Property Office and Cornell University. In this official rankings, China just ranks 12 for the first time, which is higher than Japan, Israel, and Canada. We know that Japan, Israel, and Canada is in the past is a very leading innovative country, but in China, thanks to its national innovation system improvement and other institutional changes, China has make a very big and outstanding improvement in the national innovation ranking, especially on the, we can see, especially on the knowledge and technology outputs and creative outputs. We also have made a very large improvements on institutions and market sophistications. So China in the past, global view China as a very typical latecomer in industrialization. But right now it has been continued to invest in science, technology, and innovation. We call it STI, because China wants to tackle the so-called middle income trap in the past years and move upward in the global value chain. So the progress behind the progress is China has invested in building a strong national innovation system to obtain the new power for sustainable development. So there's various international scholars' views on China, how China's fast catching up happens, and what is left to be the next. Because everyone want to figure out why it happened and what is left to deal with for China to hasten the progress. There are two typical and classical books on China's national innovation system. One is published by R11 and other international scholars in 2016. The name is China's Innovation Challenge: Overcoming the Middle Income Trap. This book has both optimistic and very negative points on Chinese innovation and progress. Another book is the Oxford Handbook of China Innovation. This is were published at the end of this year, which is edited by Professor Fu Xiaolan from Oxford University, Professor Chen Jin, and Professor Macon. The core of this book is that catch up is a long-term process of closing the gap in capabilities by promoting learning and innovation in interaction with innovation system. This is a very new kind of perspective to look up the Chinese in the past 40 years, and also look forward for the next 20 to 50 years in China and global perspective. So in the R11 book, Kun Li presents a very constructive view from the innovation economist perspective, pointing at innovation is a significant factor for economic growth in middle-income countries and the late-income economies, especially relevant for China, because the difference between the most successful Asian economics and the less successful Latin American economics can be expanded by the amount of priority given to the long-term potential growth, particularly in innovation capability. We know that endogenous growth economics by Rome in 1990s is also pointing out that long-term growth driven by the technology investment and the innovation system is a very strong power for national growth. So China right now is positioning itself to going forward and becoming the global innovation leaders in the next 20 to 50 years. So this also attracts very much international attention to see whether China can do it or not. So we put up a very critical question: could China go beyond the catch-up and become the global innovation powerhouse? In the past 40 years, China has been catch up in comparison with US, Japan, Canada, and the European economies. But right now, would China go beyond the catch up and build up its own way and patterns to become the global innovation powerhouse, instead of just copying and catch up from other countries' patterns, such as how China balanced the national innovation institutions and the market advantage to combine the two paradoxical terms or powers to build and continue its national innovation development and economic development, especially to contribute to the global peace and sustainable development goals. So we know that there's such as the US scholars Ernst in 2011, he examined the impact of China's innovation policy on the countries on China's innovation capabilities and reviewed the data and speed of catch up. So he pointed out that China's evolving capability show that China has become a serious competitor to the US, not only on price but also on its technology. So there's the famous journal, The Economics, had published a lot of series on the competition between China and the US, focused on both digitalization and AI technology, and such as ICT in the emerging and disruptive technology field. So behind this, we have compared China's innovation input and output and compared to the G7 country. We know that this is a trend of China's innovation investment on R&D in the past 20 years. In 2019, China has invested about 2.19% of GDP on R&D. Actually, in last year, 2020, China has invested about 2.4% of national GDP on R&D. We know that after the global pandemic, COVID-19, all of other countries and firms face a very serious financial constraints. They have either stopped or reduced the national innovation investment on R&D, but China has continued to increase national innovation investment in R&D in a very large ratios. So this can be a very good signal for Chinese in the past several years. In comparison with the G7 countries, such as and including South Korea and India, we know that we can see that China China has already invested a bigger ratio of GDP on R&D than that of India, UK, Canada, Italy, and France, which is also above the average rate on European Union economics. So, and this in this global trend conducted by the survey by the R&D management survey, R&D management survey, it shows that before 2027, China's total R&D investment will surpass the US for the first time. But that survey is prediction based on about the 2017, which is only 7.1 ratio on R&D. But actually, in China, in the past 2-3 years, China's R&D ratio is growth rate for R&D is higher than 10% in 2019. Last year, in 2040, the R&D growth rate is about 14%. So which is higher than the R&D magazine. This means that before 2027, China the total amount of R&D investment maybe will surpass the US. So this is the publication of science and technology journal articles we select the 8 countries. We see that for SCI publications, China has surpassed the total publication. China has surpassed the US in 2016. This data is published by the US National Science Fund. And also from the global innovation networks, we can see that China has become the top 3 most active hotspots of publication in around the world. So according to the patent, we know that China has leading the global increase trend since 2010, especially after the financial crisis. And also about patenting network globally, China also become the very active hotspot in the global. So there's a very critical critics on China's patent application, because when I was in Cornell, some scholars agree that for the national applications is maybe China's national standard is a bit lower than the other countries, because China's patent system has a very short history. But according to the international patent applications through the PCT system created by the World Intellectual Property System, China has surpassed the US in 2019 and become the world the first nations to field the global patent. This shows according to the report by WIPO, China, this is a milestone evidence showing that China not only continue leading global innovation growth measured by new patent, but is beyond the catch up and taking the role of global leaders in technology output. So we can see that as a result, the Chinese firms level dependence of foreign technology is declining fast. This is not because China stopped importing goods and technology from the other countries. Actually, the total amount of the importing technology is still grows at a faster rate. But because China itself and firms in China has a very strong capability to produce new technology, so the ratio of Chinese dependence on foreign technology is declining fast. We can see that for technology, I didn't change this name. I can just show it. According to the Chinese technology transfer from university to industry, we can see that the first is Tsinghua University, the #1 university in China. The second is the Stanford University and MIT in US. We can see that the patent granted in the second column, patent transferred numbers in the third column, and patent transfer revenue in millions US dollars. And the last column is the university spin-offs numbers. We can see that Tsinghua University has catch up very quickly compared to Stanford and MIT. And even regarding on the university technology transfer companies spin off from university, Tsinghua University has surpassed the US leading universities such as Stanford and MIT. We know that in China, Tsinghua University in the past 5 years has improved the global ranking from lower than top 30s. Right now, Tsinghua last year ranking about 14 and 12 in Times and QS global university ranking. This shows that Chinese universities also have made a big progress in the past 40 years. So we try to introduce a new innovation system perspective called holistic innovation, to trying to understand what happened behind the Chinese catching up compared to the other countries. First is that China's emergence and progress among the global innovation map should not be perceived as a threat. This is not by us, by our team, but also by the global scholars view that China should not be a threat to the Western world, but a useful model for promising potential choice for global innovation, especially for the emerging market and the later economies, because okay, so holistic innovation. What is holistic innovation? Holistic innovation in China we call it the 整合式创新. In the U.S. In the Western country we call it combining both the left and right mindset as a holistic. It's a total and collaborative innovation driven by strategic visions, especially by the national innovation visions in today's open innovation area. This new innovation paradigm is a helix of strategic innovation, collaborative collaboration, total innovation, and open innovation, which reflects both the innovation practice in Chinese context and also the wisdom from the Eastern culture. So we create the paradigm based on the national innovation system. In this new system, we put the strategic vision and driven at the top in order to driven both STE and HAM called science, technology, and engineering, and also the market side called humanities, art, and market. So in this way, we can create a co-compatibility-based innovation system, both for firms and industrial and national systems. So holistic innovation is an original theoretical paradigm to understand the national innovation system trend that's driven by the central and national government strategic actions. So it also provides theoretical foundation for mission-oriented innovation policy change. We know that in research policy in 2018, 1 year after we published our holistic innovation papers, Mazzucato also published a paper on research policy called mission-oriented innovation policy. So most innovation, another is good news that Edquist is a very prestigious innovation scholars from Europe. He also published a new paper in 2018, followed by very good books on the same name called Holistic Innovation Policy. In his book and papers, he pointed out that most innovative councils, including both China and the US and European nations, their councils in the Western countries tend to focus on R&D policy, which often treat innovation policy as the appendix to research policy. This typical policy model is currently lagging behind innovation research. We know that innovation research in the digital world and digital economy is very dynamic, not only and with the core of innovation on the key part, right? So the Swedish scholar Edquist by introducing and discussing the Swedish National Innovation Council by introducing this case, Edquist put up the holistic innovation policy, because we know that in 2017, I think 2017, the president of Sweden just launched a national innovation council led by the president in order to push forward the national innovation system change and reform the process. So the Swedish National Innovation System Council represents a totally new policy practice that makes it possible for Sweden to gradually leave the linear model in innovation policy and move towards the development of holistic innovation policy. This is very good perspective combined as a coordination and respond to the perspective proposed by Professor Chen. So to this until the last year 2018, we know that both Chinese scholars and international scholars both point out the global trend on holistic innovation policy. This is a very good theoretical perspective for the mission-oriented innovation policy. Why there's a mission-oriented innovation policy? Because right now our world globally is facing a grand challenges, not only by such as climate change, health and well-being, but also especially for after the 2020 global pandemic COVID-19 caused by COVID-19. The grand changes called us not only national but also globally. to conduct the mission original innovation policy. How to conduct the mission original innovation policy? We have to apply the holistic innovation perspective and theoretical perspective. So in this way, we're trying to put up, we have reviewed the global scholars and also Chinese practice. We put up the 5 main drivers for China's fast growing innovation. In this part, I didn't want to spend too much time, or I will lead this part into reading our paper or next sessions. First is national STI policy and efficient implications. The first is national strategic change for innovation policy. At the same time, China has a very strong capability to pushing forward and apply the national strategy to push the both in investment and also the institutional environment change. So the second is digital urbanization and infrastructure, especially in China as the latecomer and industrial economics. China has spent lots of money and also effort into improving the Chinese infrastructures, especially for the middle and west China. So the third one is by digitalization. Before the digitalization, this hot topic is the informationization, because in China, the ICT also is a very key infrastructure for Chinese firms and also for the urban and city areas. The fourth one is driven by globalization. We know that China had entered the WTO in 2001, and this opened a very new strategic window for Chinese firms to go globally and also to buying and importing technology from the international firms, especially from the firms from US and European, because we know that Chinese firms has a very short history to innovate, right? So the last one is supported by the entrepreneurship, especially in 2000 after global financial crisis in 2008. Our national council and national government launched a new policy called mass innovation and mass entrepreneurship. We called everyone to start firms and also to innovate, not only by the government, not only by the firm, but we called every citizen, every people in China trying to think innovative and create a new firm and in order to innovate. This is also very following a logic, economic logic called by dynamics by Nobel Prize winners. He just published a new book called Dynamics. So this part I don't want to spend too much time, but I want to focus the first factor, which is very different compared to the Western countries, because as Martin pointed out. Before the Great Depression of the middle 20th century, the government role in labor market economies, such as US and UK, is viewed as largely confined to fixed market failures. Well, if government do not take risk in their policies, they may not have the failures, as well as not have any great success either, right? So the Western government believe that market should drive innovation. The role of government has been underplayed for a long time for political and our ideological reasons, especially US. But at the same time, China's government emphasizes that the critical role of public policy in fostering innovation, in digital innovation. We don't care about the ideology reason. We care about how to create a better innovation system to borrowing the wisdom from both Western countries and the Chinese cultural wisdom, right? So in 2016, China launched the national strategy policy called a national innovation driven strategy, put up 3-stage goals. First is by 2020, we already achieved these goals to become the innovative country. The next 10 years, we will continue to become the top 10 innovative oriented country ranking by Global Innovation Index. And by 2050, China is aiming to become the world-class science, technology, and innovation powers and become the major science center innovation. So in the past, okay, so I will just skip this several slides in order to save time. So I want to focus on only one, this one. in the past, the global view China as a technology input latecomer economy. But when we review the data in comparison with the G7 countries, we find that China become the #1 high technology export nations in the past years. Even China still in lack of basic research and original innovations. But China has produced more and more high-tech technology products and export to everywhere around the world, right? So another is the entrepreneurship. In the past years, the very good reason for China's innovation is the new firms, and especially small SME, small and medium enterprise. They create more employment and also more economic dynamics. According to the survey by the UHY in US, so China has topped the global startup growth. The first one in China, second is the UK, and third is India. We know that the total populations in the past is a burden for economic innovation, but right now it can be a very good source, human creative source for innovation. So, but also we point out like 5 major changes on the way toward global innovation. We reviewed this, and also we conduct lots of international scholars and Chinese entrepreneurs in order to figure out what is going to challenge Chinese. We call it a great transformation period. So okay, so I want to point on this. Clark in 2018 said that in order to after China joins the national innovative clubs globally, China needs to new institutional capabilities for sustaining international competitiveness. We figure out 5 major challenges. First is how China can nurture world-class basic research and original innovation. The second is how China both cultivating and attracting the best talents and results from all over the world, not only from domestic, but also from the world. Third is how to balance the paradox of open innovation for firms and nations and indigenous innovation. We know that the US and UK and Europe nations, even they have global networks, but they have very strong indigenous innovation capabilities. The fourth one is how Chinese firms build a core competence-based innovation, open innovation ecosystem. The last one is how about China and Chinese firms can contribute to global peace and sustainable development, especially in the last year, Chinese President Xi Jinping had launched the goal of contributing the carbon natural goals for the global sustainable development. So first is the researchers we can see that China, the ratio of research in R&D in China is just larger than India. Is still lower than the other G7 countries. The R&D ratios still has a long way to go. We want to figure out to point out that China is very lack of basic research compared to other leading economies. So we can see that China, the basic research ratio is very low, especially compared to US, South Korea, and Japan, especially France and Russia. So the lessons from Japan and South Korea show that even Japan and South Korea overcome the break the middle income trap and become the strong innovation players both in Asia and the world. But they still continue investing heavily in innovation, especially basic and long-term projects to maintain their national innovation competitive advantage. This is a very good example for China and other emerging economies to go beyond the catch-up. Otherwise, it's very hard to say China would make it for the global innovation leadership. So this is for education part. The Chinese still need to invest a lot more on education to cultivate the national talents, right? So another is the China is still faced a very serious problem of brain drain. We can see that for the two figures. The first is the total international migrant stock by region. So China is still at the bottom of the compared to G7 countries, and also for the net migration region, China is still is negative in the past years. But the good news that is China has the world's largest number of graduates, especially the postgraduates. Many are science, technology, engineering, and mathematics majors. We can see that China has about more than 8. I think it's the 8 million units of the graduates and postgraduates. Another is good news is that China has Chinese young generations talents who have international experience and education background. They chose to work and create in China. This will become the one very big stream of strategic innovation resource for China in the future. We can see that in the past year, there are about 66 million Chinese students who are studying abroad, mostly in US and Europe. The annual growth rate is higher than 100%. But the more and more Chinese students abroad, where international are going back to China with annual growth rate higher than who are going abroad. Right, this is a good trend. So also there's a paradox of open innovation. We didn't. Another is good news. Hey,
please
okay.
control your time. You
2
have
minutes.
another 20 slides.
Okay, so the last one is the holistic innovation pulse. I just point out very a few key slides. The first one is we have compared the G7 countries, how they innovate and how they break the middle income trap. So we have just published, Professor Chen just published a Chinese book called Science, Technology, and Innovations for the next 30 years in China. We show that in the past, China is mainly driven by the demand generators path. But in the future, China will have turning the national patents to rely on basic research and core technology supply. So another is China set up the new mission for China national innovation system is a better life and better world, especially in the post-COVID-19 pandemic world. China's innovation and the sustainable growth will contribute to the world peaceful and inclusive development, right? So, but another is China, how to China encouraging the world change basic research and ordinary innovation. We don't know. So the last one I want to, okay, this one. I want to point out that emphasize is the national innovation system, especially in China, have to emphasize not only in the creation of patent and innovation output, but also the business running of IPs such as patent and trademark, in order to closing the innovation loop and accelerating the innovation cycle. So another is China is going to take advantage of the paradigm shift of catching up path. In the past, we follow up the imitative innovation, indigenous innovation. In the future, maybe we will introduce the national holistic innovation policy in order to fostering the Chinese national innovation. We have summarized the Chinese innovation path in the past 40 years called indigenous innovation and collaborative innovation. In the future, China must apply the holistic innovation perspective, focused on strategic and philosophy driven. So, but last slide I want to say is that this because today is a global innovation network seminar. It doesn't matter who wins in innovation, either China, US, or Europe, because the whole world will benefit from more innovation, no matter where it comes from. Especially the COVID-19 pandemic calls for a more united world and shared community to co-create a better national innovation, even global innovation system, and commercialize the technology for inclusive and sustainable development. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much and for the presentation and from Ximing, and he gave a very broad there's a study on the holistic innovation, and so they have talking about from the history aspects, and also that's what will be future in the next to the 2030. So now I think it's the time and for the Professor Chen Xiangdong and for the discussant as well as his opinions on the regional innovation system. Yeah, Professor Chen, And please share your
Okay.
screen. Yeah.
Okay. Share the screen. Can you see the PPT?
Yes, I can see. No any problem. You can just shoot, I think.
Okay. First of all, it's my great honor to have this great opportunity to share so much share views with so much scholars all over the world. And this is a very exciting moment during this very sensitive time of Beijing. First of all, I would like to thank the two very young, excellent scholars who bring us a very interesting topic and interesting research work. So to me, this is a chance to learn and also give me myself some questions. I would like to share my view, my comments with all of you. If there is any question or any mistake, please please provide it to me. Okay. So I understand that we are talking about national innovation system and a regional innovation system. To me, recent 2 years and 3 years, we are focusing on so-called urban innovation system. So both scholars, they have some research related, I think related to regional innovation system as well. So I would like to focus on that term also. First of all, I would like to talk on the Ximing's research. The title is Beyond Catch-up, China's Innovation Progress and Prospect from the Holistic Innovation System Perspective. I think the Ximing brought us some very important concepts and keywords. One is beyond catch-up. Second, holistic innovation system perspective, and to tackle the so-called middle income trap. The beyond catch-up, this is a very good word. Why we think about something beyond? Maybe some people would think that okay, in some field we perhaps on the front lines, so no longer catch up. However, I think maybe we can think different way. New frontier, you can understand as a leader-follower scenario, which means that there are always some leaders there, and their followers are trying to catch up, and everybody wish to be leaders. And this one is we have some preconditions that we are in the same route or same path. So it's clearly it's kind of path dependent view. Okay, in this path, some country or some region or some city or some companies is a leader. Some other countries or companies are followers. In this case, people always competing each other. So that is a kind of views. Perhaps we can also think differently as a new horizon. Why we innovate? Because we wish to have a better social life or better welfare. Okay, in this case, local need or regional need or national need on the social well-being might be very important. In this way, you don't have to be always leaders, or you don't have to be worried about whether we are falling behind, or as long as of innovation is good to raise our level of social well-being, that would be good. Okay, so whether we always follow the catch-up scenario, or we stop to think maybe it is the other way, or another window to think about the innovation system. Because system always, you have a certain target, you have a aim, so that the system can be built up. So catching up is one commitment, is one target. But at the same time, regional or national focus on social well-being might be more exact or precise target. Okay. So in this way, the holistic innovation system perspective might be a very good word to be used for so-called innovation system, because in this way we have a multi-mission, not only just catching something up. Okay, so that is something I was thinking about. Again, for holistic innovation, the concept is kind of a total and collaborative innovation. Very importantly, this concept emphasizes collaborations rather than competing each other. Okay, of course you have to compete, but at the same time, collaboration is also very important. Okay, and this is kind of a strategic way of thinking innovation. So on the one hand, we have a clearly mission-oriented policy actions, but on the other, we need to allow many different kinds of multiple players. In that way, the innovation can be more collaborative rather than just competitive. Okay. At the same time, how to measure or how to investigate such kind of a system. In this way, I think the regional innovation, or even the city or urban-based innovation is a good platform to be studied, because today the city looks more characterized than the provincial or even larger areas. The cities, especially in China, we have a large difference between regions, and especially if you look at the different cities in the coastline, in the innerland, even in the innerland, the Chengdu can be very different from the other place. Okay, so this is the first paper attract to me about so very important concept. The second paper is regarding the innovation effectiveness, considering the Chinese middle and long range plan effect of such kind of plans. This is also very interesting work. The work raised a very interesting question about so-called efficiency. What is the regional innovation efficiency? I think might be more suitable to call output. If we call efficiency in economic terms, which always means your input, how much a unit input raise how many output, that is kind of efficiency. But in terms of innovation, might be also relevant to quality of the innovation. It depending on how do you consider the quality of the innovation. Okay, whether this is just input-output measures or you consider innovation for the long-term welfare. Okay. The second paper also provide very clear policies, three types of supporting policies to indicate these kind of middle and long-term plans. Government and direct support, tax credit, IPRs, protections. Here, I would like to mention that the very famous innovation system, national innovation system, initiated by Freeman, actually was as a term, actually the first used in such kind of plans. The concept was introduced into China during 1992 by the Translate book, but the term is formally used as a policy word or policy concept just in such kind of a national science technology development plans for long and middle range. So this is a very interesting work. According to this study, the red letter indicate that they are not true. Okay, so why the IPR's protection not have such kind of significant or positive effect. And also H4B is also not supported, which all indicate that the regional difference matters very much. When you consider the regions, especially on cities, of course, usually it is varies great deal, especially in China, large size country, you can easily imagine that very west cities or regions are very much different in terms of innovation from the coastlines. So unevenly distributed innovation resource is a natural thing. It's a normal case. So in this case, do we consider that regional innovation should be more equal between cities? It seems very difficult. Okay, so that is raised the question for us. What is the regional innovation efficiency? Should we finally produce similar innovative performance among cities, or some cities stay in a very high position in terms of innovation, some others might not so high, but keep the equally economic level. So this might be very interesting questions to be considered. Okay, because even in America, you can hardly imagine that every state is similar in terms of the innovations. Some state or some cities in the US is highly innovative than the other cities in some remote state. So this might be the even more key questions to be asked for emerging economies. The other very important questions to be asked is, again, from the first paper and second paper together. We are facing two kinds of scenario. One is competitions, okay? Because of competition, because of the past dependence, we have catching up terms. We have a leadership and followers. We have flying gaze models, which means that some country or some regions stay in front, and some other regions always falling behind and working very hard to catch up. Okay, and why those regions or countries are very advanced? Because they have very good industries or key industries. So we need specialized industries. We have specialized technologies, cutting edge technologies along that path. Okay. So we need specialization, specialized technology in key industries. For supporting such kind of a technology, you need larger companies, usually. You do not think that the smaller companies can support such kind of key industries. So large companies are very keen, okay. Concentrated sectors always is a policy focus for that country or the regions. And then you have very major players. Okay, this is a competition scenario. Then we have a collaboration scenario. So, which means you might have a multiple paths, not just one or not just a few. Mission for innovation need to be reconsidered, okay, for different regions. Example is the frugal innovation might be equally important with those so-called cutting edge technologies, okay. Then you might have a cluster of industries, which means that you have a very advanced industries. You have also some industry, the supporting industry, or some kind of a less seems less important, but you cannot neglect those industries on regional basis. So you need diversified technologies or diversification of technology resources. You have a cluster of important sectors for local need. Then in this case, SMEs and startups and multiple actors, including universities, must be very important. But of course, we do not have purely collaboration scenario. So actually, we see the competition and collaboration scenario. The question is how far you go each end, each extremes. Okay, so we need to take care of both sides. Then does that mean that our so-called system should include these two kind of scenarios rather than just one? Okay. Then we come to another pair of concept, path dependence and path creations. Path dependence is very clear. We need concentrated R&D. We need technology hacked or deep depths. We need large company. We need major cities as a base. Okay, regional, national competitiveness. We need the stronger economic power. However, for path creation, which means that you value multiple paths. Okay, then you need diversified R&D, new ideas, new designs, techniques, always coming up. Okay, you need the technology race, which means that wider scope of technologies. You need universities, startups, and government, industry, university, consortium. Okay, in this way, you have a diversified innovation city as a hub. Okay, then this is also regional, national innovation system, but more emphasized on collaborations. Okay, so now we have two kind of the way to conduct so-called national innovation system or regional innovation system. Can we say this is a national inclusive innovation system or holistic innovation as a system? So that is something considerations from these two papers. Okay. we have been doing some research work. So I would like to show some of the, very briefly, the important results and also the brief work. We consider that regions or cities should be important focus for such kind of system studies. Okay, during this kind of the focus, the convergence and specialization need to be studied together with divergence or diversification of technologies, because convergence means power, okay, stronger power, but divergence means potentiality. Potentiality might also help for your regional catching up, and more importantly, very important for fast growing in another round of the economic horizon. I think this is a very important difference between so-called developed economy and developing economies, because in the so-called developed economies, they have both power and also potentiality. So potentiality is very important. So we say the TDs, or the technology diversification, are important elements to be examined for regional innovation system and national innovation system. I would like to show you the Chinese case. Sorry about this Chinese word, but this means 20 different kind of the technology field. And these lines, these radar lines, means a different group on their emphasized angle, emphasized areas. You can clearly say that there are not very much unevenly evenly distributed. The blue lines are the universities in China. The red line are the companies, and these data are coming from 116 cities. Then you can see even the different group, they have a different performance. And in this chart, you can see this is cities. We have a 5 group of cities. Tier 1 means very big mega cities, should we say, very, very big size cities. And we have new Tier 1, which means that they growing very fast in China, like Shenzhen, like some other cities. So the new Tier 1 become very important, especially for this, sorry about this time period. It's not very updated, but you can see in the final stage, the second or new Tier 1, the city of the new Tier 1 outperformed for over the largest cities, okay, in terms of patented technologies. In terms of technologies, our field of technologies, they are also differentiated, okay. So we put such kind of framework trying to measure whether those cities are converging or diversifying their technologies. Even though there are the 20 different kind of field of technologies, we have through the specific statistical method, then we concentrated these differences into 2 or 3 very condensed dimensions. So we called primary technology dimension and the secondary technology dimensions. If one cities keep going to each side of the dimension, which means converging, okay, or they stay in the middle and then middle region, then we can say those cities, sample cities, are rather diversified. Okay, so this way. So these two yellow could be converging either to the secondary technology or converging to the primary technology.
Professor Chen,
Yes.
and yeah, please control your time.
Yes,
I think we, yeah.
I have two slides left. Okay, sorry. Then you can see if we measure just 2 time period, the top, this is 28 cities. Okay, then you can see all cities seems the angles or those angles become larger or smaller, which means that each kind of the sample cities become a converging trend. They have a converging trend, but they converging to different kind of dimensions. So we can still say in Chinese case, the city-based technology still can be said as a diversified. Okay, so we have such kind of paper published. If someone interested, you can refer to that. Okay, so the conclusion is that we need to consider diversification together with the convergence. In this way, we can reconsider the innovation system, either national or regional, for the path dependence and path creations, these kind of scenarios. Okay, that is something I learned from those two and together with our own research. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm very glad to share these. If you have any questions, I would like to have.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks the comments as well. That's the opinions of the research from Professor Chen Xiangdong. So now it's the turn to Professor Chen Jing, and welcome, share your opinions.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Jin Chen from Tsinghua University School of Economics and Management. I'm very glad to join the seminar tonight and listen to the two wonderful presentations by two young Chinese scholars. So today, firstly, I'd like to thank Chris Freeman for his creative creation of the concept of national innovation system to the world of the innovation studies. Because his concept of national innovation system create a new mechanism to coordinate the public and private collaboration mechanism, which is very important for developing countries like China, because for low technology, for catch-up, it's very important to have a support from the government. When I visited Spru in year 2000, Freeman emphasized that he thinks China is a good advantage lies in the existence of 5-year plan of China that balance the resources at the national level. So I do remember the words by Professor Freeman mentioned to me. So I think his framework is so wonderful that give a new insight how we manage innovation at the national level, meso level, and the micro level. After his creative innovation about this concept, Professor Richard Nelson also developed the national innovation system by way of the competitive studies of different countries, and the stresses on the role of R&D, education, and foreign trade, etc. So next point emphasize co-evolution of technology, market, and institutions. So the framework of And the third very important contribution to the national innovation system is by Professor Banquet Rodwell. He emphasizes the importance of doing, using, and interaction, the very nature of innovation. That innovation not just from R&D, but from learning sector, especially how the vocational innovation contributed to the innovation performance. So Professor Rodwell's idea also very excellent, especially for China. We not only focus on the elite, like famous scientists, but we also focus on the user-producer interaction, especially from practical one, that we should emphasize the interaction between vocational education, skilled workers, and our formal R&D institution. The fourth important contributor about the national institution is Professor Harry Eskowitz. His concept of triple-helix is very also wonderful, that emphasize on the interaction between government and enterprises, as well as universities. So these four famous scholars constitute a very different aspect of national innovation system that gradually make a good contribution to the development of China. So, as Professor Xiangdong mentioned, that we introduced the concept NIS about early 90, but gradually we embedded in the concept in our national media and long program in 2006. So national innovation system become very important concept for Chinese government to support our innovation. By this one, we emphasize great role of government, how to support innovation. Because at that time, the Chinese technology capability of enterprises is very weak. So we need the support from our government, not only the government, but our public sector, like universities. So at that time, university has dominated innovation role. So many technology transformed from the university. So university played a very important role in China's national innovation system. So that's the paper we work with Ximing that emphasize in the interaction among the R&D investment and education investment. But trying to catch up another issue is that we invest lots on ICT sector. So the collaboration between R&D sector, education sector, and ICT sector drive the success of China innovation. So that's a good story from China, because we emphasize the collaboration between among the ministers. Another good example is high-speed train. How China catch up so fast by high-speed train? Currently, we have 600 km/h high-speed train in China. That's amazing, because we're using the effect of collaboration between ministers. The collaboration between Ministry of Transportation and Ministry of Science and Technology, most. Such kind of collaboration can avoid the waste of R&D investment and use our collaborative resources between universities, R&D institutions, and enterprises. So that's the reason why China so catch up so fast. Because this year, China ranked 12th in the world for innovation ranking because we use the concept of a national innovation system. So thank you, Chris Freeman and Professor Lundwell, for your excellent contribution to the China policy design and innovation achievements. But for new situation, China need to be reformed. So before currently before for a long time we use a national innovation system, but the problem if national is too strong, that the enterprises maybe rely on the government. That will reduce the motivation of innovation by enterprises. That's not so good. That's not so good. So currently, when we join the design of new national innovation system, we do like the concept of Professor Lundwell that previously we had national innovation system. Now we like the innovation system without national, because we do need the enterprises play the important role, not just the university. University should return to his basic role of training people, education, not too much technology transfer. So currently we design an innovation system for Chinese government by our research group. We emphasize to get our enterprises to be technology-led enterprises, to be a world-class innovative enterprises, like US, like Siemens in Europe, etc. So that's our national resources, not just stay at the university. We let the resources like R&D investment, our R&D decision, R&D platform, and R&D result transfer. Let's our enterprises do more than ever. So this is we policy design for Chinese government. So currently we like innovation system, not NIS, because we should have the entrepreneur to be the main body of enterprises. So then NIS in China, we from macro to micro one, even to mini one, because not enterprises. We should create promote all the people to be innovative. That's also idea, featured idea. Professor Edmund Phelps, the Nobel Prize winner in economics, that should we in currently China, we should let all people innovate, not just entrepreneur like Schumpeter thinking, not just ask our scientists to do more, like new post-training Schumpeter thinking. Well, currently we do like the concept called post-Schumpeter thinking, that our user, our maker, our common people, our innovation from grassroots to do more innovation work, then formal institution like university and enterprises. So that's a policy design we now try to do. So maybe you can comment our work we are doing, but we can discuss we should approaching to in the internet world, all connected world. We need the more grassroots innovation. We need more innovation from all people, not just the small people like scientists and entrepreneurs. I think we can discuss it more from CICLIX platform. We will host the CICLIX next year in Tsinghua University. And we like to bring Globalix into Tsinghua again, if possible. Why? Because we like to talk how the rational innovation policy design for any country, any regions. We need a new perspective, new policy measure to promote innovation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you the opinions and the comments and from Professor Chen Jing. And so now it's Q&A time, and we already have received several questions and from scholars. So at first, there's a question from Carlot. It's the question is, do you have an institutional mechanism for sharing successful innovation policy strategies between regions?
Maybe I can explain a little bit more.
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, I really think that one of our main problems today is the need for institutional innovation. And I think in most countries, sometimes you have, as one of your speakers was saying today, big differences between regions, but there is also big differences between policymakers in different countries, within the country. Some are more successful than others. And I believe that in order to succeed more, we need to share the experiences. And we do a lot of studying about innovation in industry and all those other things, but we very rarely study institutional innovation. I mean, why do people succeed with some policies and not with others? Does it have to do with the quality of the policy or so on? And one of the things I think is most important is to be able to share with other regions within the country or with other similar countries. So I'm sure there must be some mechanism to do that. I wondered if in China they had such a mechanism, such an institution.
So anyone could answer the question. If there is a formal, for me, I will think there is no formal, there is an informal. Yeah, we can see that's the governance, the local governance meets quite often. But I don't know if there's they try to visit the other regions and to learn their experience.
And the region they come from, that goes to the region to learn, do they actually fund these trips, or is it just a governor who wants to do it and then he figures? Is it common that people know that going to visit another region and talk to another governor or whatever other authority, that could be useful? Is it common, or do you just know a few people that have done it, or is it happening all the time? Do you know?
Professor Chen Jing, do you have any?
Okay, thank you, Professor Perot. Very excellent question. So in China, we have a very important system that our cadres for our governors of each region will exchange every 2 years or every 3 years. That will be transfer knowledge and experience of managing big policy design and managing local development to learn each other. So that's a good knowledge transfer. That's good mechanism. And especially for not trying to have a new policy that we now emphasize called we should reach a stated case called common prosperity that will reduce the gap between regions. So the advanced region should help the less developed region. there will be card exchange, and also there are also R&D result and also university exchange between two different regions. That will be lower the variety between regions. That's a good study of China.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so there's a question. And so there's a question and from the Memomuchi, and how are the specific distinguished variables in the different regions identified to characterize and classify innovation leading, innovation catch-up, and innovation leapfrogging, and innovation driven. So Memo, if you are online, and perhaps you can explain and your questions.
I think Mamo has left.
Okay, so perhaps we move
Proceed with the
because it's not so easy to understand. Maybe we move into the question from Jackie.
Mamo has come back. Mamo,
Okay.
if you want, please.
I'm there.
Okay. Yeah.
How are
and
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your question, and you have the question about the variables.
The reason is because from the Chinese experience, Africa must learn. There's a lot Africa must learn from the Chinese experience. So I'd like you to tell us about these variations and how you you explain them. And this experience we could draw lessons from. Thank you.
So
Which
anyone?
variation?
And we said to distinguish the development stage, we set a dummy variable, and we use the score in the evolution report on China's regional innovation capability, which is edited by Professor Liu Xielin. And we set the dummy variable. If the score is bigger than the mean of the it is bigger than the mean, we set the dummy variable as 1. Otherwise, we set it as 0.
And Memo, is this okay? Is this okay to your question? Maybe you can share that's the papers or the slides, and then maybe you will know, understand there's a paper how to define the variables.
There is no paper.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So perhaps this any that's maybe you can discuss it later. Because of the time, and we move to the next question. And so it's a question from Jackie from the University of Malaya. And the first question is, since 2018, as US-China relation has become increasingly competitive in more broader scopes, China's innovation is facing the bottleneck problem, whatever in theoretical research or applied research. Based on the existing innovation resources and the progress, does China have some low-hanging fruits that can adopt to grow an innovation system for further development in long term? So it's about the current situation. So I think it's quite big question, and maybe the two Professor Chens, do you have any answers into this one?
Okay, let me explain my thought that on the current U.S.-China tension about innovation. So I think China now begin a new battle to solve the called bottleneck technologies by ourselves. That our government initiative, and also the enterprise is not just running its own profit or business, and large companies should play an important role. That means he should be the organizer of the how to managing the industrial trade, not only just managing himself, how to organize small and medium enterprise work together. So this is a broader innovation system concept, because traditional innovation system in West country may be the university and industry collaboration, user producer, but in China reality for China-US tension, the large companies should leading the small and medium enterprises work together. So so in the future, China now trying to organize called innovation consortia to work together, especially the collaboration between large company and the small company work together to solve the bottleneck technologies. So that's our policy design currently.
So,
but in the same time, we should we also emphasize international collaboration. We try to be more open. Even the international situation is not so good for China. We like to collaborate with all the scientists in all over the world, but by marketing mechanism, not just the national program. We like a marketing mechanism to attract the talented people from all over the world. That's our new talent policy.
And the other is there's the second question from Jackie, and it's about the efficiency of innovation policy in terms of output is a key issue, but for whom, which sector? What about the accessibility to the innovation policy for the public? So I think it's about the innovation policy for the public and also for the performance, for the output. Efficiency of innovation policy, I think it's like for in China, we always will think about the contribution of benefits of innovation to the economy and the society, especially for the society and for the common public. And we, like in Zhejiang province, we emphasize the innovation for the common property, the commonwealth. Yeah, so that's it. I think that is more is important for the innovation policy for the public.
Yeah,
I hope that is, yeah.
That's very key to the book by Professor Underwell, that innovation and the social cohesion. That's very important. So Professor Underwell, you should have lots of chance to speak to our Chinese government and senior government official about this one. So today, the Zhejiang province initiated the Committee of Social Development, not only money seeking, not only economic development. We will pay more attention to the social cohesion. That's very important. So I think in the next 5-year plan, social development will be more important than economic growth. That's a project we work with Ximing together for a social development bureau of most in China.
Yeah, I hope this is okay and to the Jackie, and he has the other question. So it's about the hot debate is on the internet economy squeeze effect, particularly some giant companies. So what is the green lane for SMEs in innovation activities? So any comments, any opinions and from to Professor Chen?
Now, China will emphasize the role of small and medium enterprises, but not just common venture activity, but to focus on the high tech or deep technology or hard technology sector, not traditional entrepreneur work. So the Ministry of Industry and Informationalization initiated a very important program is that promoting small and medium enterprises with high tech. And our stock, I know the Professor Pedros, you are expert for financial innovation and industry revolution. So our financial innovation now come to very fast. Not only traditional stock market, but our new mechanism. So beyond the NASDAQ in US, we have lots of new stock system, especially technology-based startup stock system initiative. And now in Beijing, this year, we launched the Beijing Stock Exchange market for technology-based, not emphasize on the sales, but also for the technology level. That's bring a lot of chance for our small and medium enterprises to work better than ever.
Yeah. Okay, so now it's the turn and to Professor Lundvall, and he has several questions.
I would like to ask Professor Chen Jin some questions. I understand that you see, is it correct that you see holistic innovation system as alternative to national innovation system? Or are you saying that our view of the national innovation system should be holistic? This is my first question. The second is, holistic is a nice term, but it's also problematic in the sense that it, per definition, includes everything. So what is your major point by emphasizing this concept? Is it that we want, like Edquist, I think, is saying, go beyond science push or technology push and get better focus on the interaction in the system? Number two, is it that you want more grassroots innovation? Number three, what? I mean, what do you see as the major change in emphasis when you go from innovation system in general to a holistic system? I think it would be nice to be reasonably precise in this context. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Professor Lundvall. Very good questions for me. Because why we turn holistic innovation policy design? Because I think the national system is in sense is holistic one. Because we should collaboration between ministries like China. Because if we cannot coordinate it, we waste lots of money. For example, the Ministry of Most and the Ministry of Industry and Informationalization and our Development Commission of Reform, they also in charge of innovation. But the three ministries waste lots of money, with lots of effort. So we should work together. So this year, China set up a new national office to coordinate the three ministries' activity for innovation. So that's our operational one. But in the general one, we should collaboration between education and R&D activity. So like your concept, like learning, etc., not just R&D per se. So that's very important to design a new innovation system. It's very important. And for our practical ones, so holistic one, why is holistic? Because traditional innovation is technology push and market driven. That's not enough, because that's driven two research questions. One is indigenous innovation, one is open innovation. But they miss the target. Why innovation? Innovation is not just for traditional economic development. We should focus on our global warming and carbon nature, etc. The new goal. So this is not technology. This is not economy. We need a new mission, high mission. So holistic is high one, not the low one. Traditionally, innovation is too low, just for money seeking. That's so good, not so good. But the next one, we should focus on our social responsibility. Focus on our how build a new civilization for mankind. All people should learn together. We should have a strong intercultural learning. We should have exchange our new idea of a civilization, not just the conflict of civilization, like Mr. Huntington said. That's not so good. That's not good. Sam is from India scholar. He is advisor of India Premier. He wrote a very important book called Redesign the Globe, Redesign our Globe, Redesign our society. That's very important. So holistic is high one, but holistic also broader one. We should make all people working together, all innovators, not just a few people. That's not so good. That will get the high gap between peoples, not good for social income equality. Not so good. Innovation should not just do this one. Innovation should make every people have a happy and joyful life. So innovation should innovate for ourselves, not just for money. So that's the way we use the concept of holistic.
And Bao, and I think you have another two questions. So I think it's
if I may, I think it's more and more obvious that uneven development and inequality is based more than anything else in distribution of knowledge.
That's right.
And one aspect of this is legal intellectual property rights. China started with very weak position, extremely weak position, extremely dependent on the rest of the world. But now China has accumulated a lot of intellectual property rights, and they are unequally distributed as well in China. So I had this question. Do you see, and this is to all Chinese scholars involved here, do you see intellectual property rights as some kind of barrier to the distribution of knowledge from the most developed areas to the least developed? And do you have any policy to overcome this barrier? That was one of my questions. And the second one was, how would this apply outside China? I know you are building infrastructure in low and middle income countries. Does China have a strategy also for sharing intellectual property with low and middle income countries with whom they collaborate? Thank you.
That's also very good questions. So China noticed that IPR is helpful for the benefit of private one, but have a very low social returns. That's not so good. So now China began his action. This year, we began to implement some activity like open access of all journals and all data. Especially open science now is become popular in China. So not only open innovation, open science, that all journals free to all our people, because this is a public sector, public resources, not private resources. So we began first with our journal resources, and gradually will be data resources. So data also also new kind of resources. Now we like to be gradually open. So IPR is still some problem because we are countries from poor protection now come to strong protection. But I think when we join the policy design, we will let some policy more be a little bit weak, because too strong IPR protection will hide the technology transfer to the less developed regions. Maybe some special policy that some developed region in China, when they transfer the technology, should be low prices or some free for technology transfer will be suggested by us, by our scholars, especially our group. We said free innovation is very important, not just the money, not just the too strong IPR protection. It's not so good for less developed regions.
I can add some thing. It's like in my province, now we have the new policy and we open some of the intellectual property, open to everyone. For example, now I believe just a few days ago, it's in the news, it said my university has the 9 free, the open IP and to all the enterprises And also they have the cooperation with the other enterprises and to help them to improve the capabilities. Yeah. I think that is a start and to open some the IP and to everyone.
Especially the patents from university, you should be low prices, because this is a public organization. Should not make money from this one. So that's a policy design we try to do.
So we move into the other question, and Trina Fizanti and has a question. Trina, are you here? There is a question. It's
Yes, Martina?
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. I think you have the question about what drives Chinese young generation with international background return home. Is this one?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Yeah. So there is a question. It's about what drives Chinese young generation with international background return home. This is the one question. Is if I find from chat. I think it's because for me, I will think there is a more that's opportunity, commercialization opportunities in China. I met some of the young startup founders, CEOs. They are just came back. They just came back from US and the other countries. They for the high-tech startups. I think it's for the commercialization of their technology. That is one reason. I think that is one. So maybe we move into the other. Teshmomen Sahimari Ashagri. There is a question from this scholar, and the question is, how do we know whether a country has a strong national innovation system? How do we know the country has a strong national innovation system? So any comments? Any opinions and from professors or the scholars? I think it's an open question to everyone. How do you know? Professor Renewal, and what's his? Yes. Now you are mute.
Oh, I can have a go at it, but of course, in the ideal world, you would say a country with a strong innovation system would contribute with knowledge and technologies which contributed to a sustainable world where people were well off. I mean, that would be some kind of ideal definition. What you actually try to do is to measure things. And when you measure things, you have to reduce stuff to rather narrow things to begin with. You look at the R&D effort, innovation activities as reflected through surveys or through patenting and other things. The problem with that, and I think it's a problem in China, which I didn't hear referred to, is that putting emphasis on such quantitative goals has a major impact on behavior. And not all of it is favorable for innovation. It means that it gets very attractive for scholars, and this is true in all the world, to write a lot of scientific papers, because if they do that, they can get a higher salary. Universities may ask for a lot of patents because it increases the support it gets from the government, etc. So all these different indicators are in themselves unsatisfactory. So the best you can do, I guess, is to combine different ones, and then you have to add to that, I think, some completely different indicators which indicate the quality of life and health, education level, and many other things. But we are not. I would not say that we can now give a very precise answer to this extremely fundamental question, and therefore it is a very good question, which should be questioned again and again and again. And we have to do our best to develop more adequate indicators, and also include qualitative analysis, asking how people are and how they like the life they live, etc., as to include in that. I know this is not a very satisfactory answer, but I cannot give any more satisfactory one. Sorry.
Any other the opinions? Yeah. Okay, so perhaps we move into the other question, and from the Yu Xing Wang, and so the question is, thanks for the decent seminars. Thank everyone. There is a question. When we look some new technology trend, like the circle currency or crypto currency, Chinese government has enacted strict regulatory and bans restrictions around the world when the technology in the stage not fully into the mass market. Do you think what is a financial policy for avoiding financial bubble and the risk? Financial bubble and the risk will impact in the innovation of new technology, and how to balance both of them. Thanks. Or that's Yu Xing. Are you here? And perhaps you have that you can ask the question directly.
Yes, here I'm Yu Xing. I'm from University of Edinburgh, yes, and I'm a master about the science and technology in society. So I want to know, do you think the financial policy about nowadays the trend like the blockchain and the cryptocurrency, our government, Chinese government, has a stronger policies than other countries when the technology just in the very, I think, very early stage. So do you think the stronger, stricter policy, financial policy, in terms of our policy, our government will impact the new technologies development, and in this situation, how to balance both of them? Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I think it's a quite big and difficult to answer the question because it's more about the financial policy.
Yeah.
We just like to design a policy that's called innovation-friendly financial policy. This is our new policy design now.
Yeah.
But we don't care much about called Bitcoin and blockchain. I think Chinese financial policy don't take care of that one. Currently, we still focus on our traditional financial tools. But anyway, we try to improve how to make the financial support, innovation support for our financial sectors.
Yeah,
but not so much innovation. We will keep the original one. Traditional one.
Yes,
Yeah.
I guess we more pay more attention to the blockchain technology. Yes, we very evaluate. Yes, but now we maybe just to do something to avoid the financial impact and some financial risk. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you. Thank you, and so there is another question, and from Daniel Fortisi, and I think he's here, and please ask the question directly. Daniel. Yeah.
Yes, hello all. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure listening to all the presentations. Really enlightening, and I particularly enjoy the follow-up discussion which is going on now, defining whether we're looking at national innovation system, holistic approaches or not. And this triggers my question about boundaries and borders, and whether national really makes sense in the case of China, which is huge in terms of scale. Just think of 2.4%, which was mentioned as R&D spending, what impact it has on the global R&D landscape. Choices of Chinese largest players have a big impact on innovation policy in Europe and around the world. And that's a mutual interaction. So what I would like to understand is whether or where the borders are and how this has changed in the past years. I think there must have been qualitative change, and it would be very interesting to see how the global impact or global footprint of the Chinese innovation system has been evolving. Many thanks.
So, any
可以吗
next?
不要回答问题。
我先咱你就不回答了。
Yeah,
让别人回答。
Ximing, please mute.
Mute.
So anyone that so Professor Chen Xiangdong, are you online? And can you answer the question? So it's about the for the Chinese innovation system.
Yeah, I think this is also a very big question. Actually, I think to understand the Chinese policy, you need to look at some kind of history, because in different stage, the policy in China on innovation is different. Okay. I think there are local domestic researchers. They did very good research to clarify the different stage and because of what kind of reason. And apparently the policy is a very significant part in so-called national innovation system. I think that it is very interesting that such kind of a concept, national innovation system, start from China during mid-1990s. I think that exactly in time China started to adopt indigenous innovations. Before that, the foreign capital and technology transfer, international technology transfer, and investment-oriented business are very hot topics. So innovation seems not so important. But after the mid-1990s, then the innovation become together also with a term raised by Freeman, the national innovation system began to be used more frequently. If you look at the published papers in China regarding national innovation system, they are increasing very fast after the mid-1990s. But we still have some kind of the lessons to during the past. You might know that at very beginning, China local policy very much support the car industries, not so much emphasize on telecommunications, but it turned out that the telecommunication become very advanced sector in China, and car industry are not so much. Actually, we have a lot of foreign brand car in China, not like the local brand so bright in Chinese market. But on the other hand, policy have a strong, very significant contribution to the high-speed train. So there are also some good example of the local policy successful policy stories. So really Chinese market can tell a lot of stories in terms of policy, in terms of market. So it's a very complicated situation if we answer such kind of questions. But yes, in some region, the policies are very successful, and there could be examples for other regions.
Mhm.
And this is what I just think.
Yeah, I think Daniel has a good question and a suggestion, and for all the future for the research. I don't think we have a lot of the research on the global footprint of the Chinese national innovation system. Yeah, well, I don't think we have a lot of the research about this. We still that's more that focusing on the what is influence from outside to China, as well as some of the research following the 101 bats, but not. I think it's more. We're talking about for the how to do, and how to do there. So I think it's true. It's a very good suggestion, and we should look at the global footprint of the Chinese companies, and of course it's Professor Fu Xiaolan and her teams, I think, have some this kind of the research. And
Yeah.
for the national and the regional, I believe it's true. It's in China, and most of the time, more efficient is the regional innovation system, and also sometimes it's the sectoral innovation system. It's not just the national. Yeah, that is my opinions. Yeah.
I think Professor Chen Jin and Professor Liu Xielin, they published some papers in international journals related to Chinese case in innovation policies.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think it's a quite a long time, and now it's almost the midnight in China. Yeah, it's a midnight in China, and thank you very much for all that's the participants. And if you have any more questions, I leave my email, and if you have any questions, you can just send your questions to me. I will forward all the questions to the speakers. Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you all that's the speakers and participants and everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great sharing, June. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think perhaps we are going to have another the session about the innovation system, about what is the influence of the Freeman's theory, as well as the Renval, some of their research. What is the impact and what is our research on the innovation system?
Thank you very much. Our next session is going to be on 19th of November. After the Globalix, we leave a break for Globalix conference. So after that, we will have the next session on 19th of November.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Until then, bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Rajesh.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all. That's bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody. Special greetings to all my good Chinese friends, which I missed a lot. Bye-bye.